Hello, today is January 21st, 2026. I'm meeting today with Mr. Manuel De Torres at his home in Colorado Springs. My name is Brad Hoops. I'm the interviewer for Remember and Honor Veterans History Project. Welcome, Mr. De Torres, and thank you for sitting down to tell your story today.
Thank you.
Let's start out, if we could. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your date of birth, where you were born, a little bit about your family.
Okay. My name is Manuel De Torres. I was born in Guam, on December 31st, 1931. I turned 94 just last December. Growing up in Guam was really wonderful. My mom and dad's name, my dad is Jose De Torres, and my mother is Barbara Chalferis De Torres. Growing up in Guam, it's a secluded island, more or less. It's on the Marianas Group archipelago. Growing up, we were a close-knit family, and growing up...
How many siblings did you have?
I have two brothers older than me and a sister. I am the youngest one in the family.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, on December 8th, that's the same date as the date the bombed Pearl Harbor. The international deadline separate the dates, but it's the same day. Pearl Harbor was December 7, Guam was December 8. We were just getting out of church, the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, when we saw 9 airplanes on the horizon heading south toward the Naval Air Station in Sumai. And we were hollering. You'd never seen airplane that big. We saw the Clipper every year that comes.
Oh, yeah.
The U.S. Clipper that comes in every month to deliver mail and periodics to the American forces there in Guam. And then we saw this 9-plane go down, and we saw flames and all kinds of debris and things flying all over.
How far away from you were you from the naval station or the base there?
Well, remember, Guam is only 30 miles long,
Yeah.
and 4 to 12 miles wide. So we were probably 10, 12 miles away. So we were close. Yeah. But of course, closeness in Guam is right. It's too small an island. Let me give you a little background about Guam. The Chamorro people are stature, they're big, over 6 foot tall, and they call them the Chamorros. And Guam was discovered by Magellan on March 6, 1521, and it became a Japanese Guam protectorate by the Spaniards. In the Spanish-American War in 1898, the American came and they took over the island, and they beat the Spaniard in a little skirmish they had, and it became an American protectorate. The Spanish-American War started in 1898 when an American ship right outside Cuba, the Spaniard there bombed the American ship called the Maine. You probably remember that. And it became that. And so we were under the The Guam became a Spanish occupation until 1898. And we became like, the American treated us like, they were friendly and everything, but treated us like slaves. They were very dominant when the American got there. And
Did you have the same treatment under the Spanish, do you think? Or does it,
probably better.
Yeah.
Better, yes. And then December, remember I went back with the Japanese. Well, when the Japanese took over Guam, December 8 when they start the bombing, December 10 when the American resistance ended because they were outnumbered. They have the Insula First. That's the Guam Navy under the American, and a few Marines, and a naval station in Sumai. That's where they bombed it. 2 days, December 10 or 11, the whole Guam was under the Japanese. They conquered everything.
so they invaded that, they followed that bombing up with an invasion?
Right,
Okay.
in December 10th,
Okay.
and they took over the island. Remember, the island is small
Yeah.
and very few resistance from the American and the Insula First Guamanian Navy. And during the Japanese occupation, we were really enslaved. My dad was in the U.S. Navy for 30 years, so only those with American citizenship were put in Japanese concentration camp or in camping, and we are one of the families. And the Japanese were brutal, probably worse than the German in World War II. So my mom and dad and my brothers and sister were working like slave under the Japanese, and I was sent to Japanese school. And they brutalized my dad, they beat him up and everything else. And every time you meet a Japanese, you have to bow down, and acknowledge that they're superior to us. So finally, my brother was taken from the field, and he was made like a clerk in the Japanese headquarters there. He was only 15 or 16 years old. His name is Jesus Jesse Carbolito De Torres. And he cleaned up the Japanese headquarters, cooked for them, and did everything. And one day, and my mom had a collection of silverware and goldware and everything from my father's trip throughout the world, And my brother, like I said, was employed by the Japanese cleaning up the place and doing all kind of manual labor. And then one day they called me into to the Japanese authority and said, "You are getting radio parts and sending it to Tweed." Tweed at that time is one of three U.S. Navy people that escaped the Japanese and went in the jungle. And two were captured, except for Tweed. Tweed was being safe with the Guamanian, hiding him and giving food and everything. But they accused my brother Jesse of stealing all this radio parts and everything, because Tweed was a radio man that contacted Hawaii and San Francisco during the war. And my brother never admitted that he was, doing this. So they hung him up by his legs, a foot, and everything, and try to drown him with a bucket of water, towel, and
Yeah.
but he never admitted that he was, and he was only 15 or 16 years old. So they beat him up and did everything to him, but he never admitted he was a spy.
Did he survive?
Yes, he survived, and anyway, when the Marine came back to Guam,
Well, let's back up. Talk a little bit about life during the Japanese occupation. Were you actually in a camp? Did they put you in a barbed wired camp and had to, or were you allowed to stay at your home but under Japanese scrutiny?
exactly, yes. I want to show you some pictures here of the Japanese.
And we'll want to record this after. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were in the concentration camp and everything.
What were your living conditions like?
It was like we were slaves. They don't feed us. Maybe they give us a bowl of rice every day, and that's about it. Then they finally let us out. Some of the American sailors who were there and us, and we were let out of the camp. But they have a restricted area, like on top of a cemetery, for example, is where they let us camp out and everything. It was really a terrible environment. And anyway, I'll tell you an example of the way they treat us. For example, they'll get American sailors and Guamanians, let's say 9 of them, and they instructed them, the Japanese instructed them to build a big grave, and they say, well, you guys are going to fight each other with shovels and sticks and everything, and the last one standing will be let free, What they did, and those guys were beating each other up and everything, and ultimately one person survived the fight and everything, and then this person, they tied his hands behind his back, let him kneel right there by the grave, and cut his head with a sword. They lied to him, They say you'll be freed, but they didn't. And we were forced to watch this, to observe for this brutality. It was really bad.
What's that? What's a 9-year-old watching that? What do you think? It had to be terrifying.
We were scared.
Yeah.
We were scared. And, anyway, we were out, and we were able to roam the island and everything. So my father and his half-brothers, we went and lived with them, because they weren't American citizens, so they weren't in the camp, in the concentration camp. Only those who were American citizens. So we were one of the few family with American citizenship. My dad got a citizenship while in the Navy, and the date was September 1919 when he got his naturalization in, I think it was in Manila or in San Francisco. Well, anyway, when they let us go, my brother Jesse was also let go, and Jesse was he was only 16 then. He built a little hut for us, and we were living in that hut when the American came. In July, they start bombing the island, and preparatory to their landing.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to back up and ask the question. Was Jesse involved in getting those parts up to radio parts, or was he not at all? I mean,
He was.
he was okay.
He was, but he wouldn't admit
Oh
it.
no. Yeah.
So my mother, like I said previously, had all this Civil War going and everything. So she took all this stuff, tried to bribe the Japanese to let Jesse off. And they let him off, but they got all those worldly goods that we had. So when the Americans start bombing Guam, preparing to reconquer the island, on July 21st, 1944, when they finally got the island and fought the Japanese and everything, and they prevailed. The American forces prevailed.
Well, now, how was that for you during this fighting? Were you caught in any? Were you safe up in the mountains, or what did you do during
we were in the jungle.
Yeah, okay.
And like I said, my brother Jesse built a little hut for us and everything, with a bamboo floor and all that. It was really bad, but all the fighting and everything, and there was a Japanese ship that was torpedoed by the American, and there's a Talafofo Bay. That was the name of the bay. The river goes right into that Talafofo Bay, and the Japanese ship was trying to get to the bay, and the ship was stopped right there because all the Japanese were gone. And when the Marine finally got into the July 21st, we saw, and we thought they were gods. The U.S. Marine, because we never seen Marines. They were big and tall and everything, and everybody was saying, all these guys are from heaven. They're gods. They're tall and everything. And they start giving us goodies, to eat, candies and everything. And Japanese resistance ended August 9 or 10 in 1944. And we were back to almost normal under the American. But we were still, hesitant to say that we are really free, because the Marines aren't that great, really. They were nice and everything. And we saw them beating up the Japanese just as bad as the Japanese beat us. I mean, the Marines were really, really rough on the Japanese. And we saw bodies and everything floating down the river and everything. And I was, 10, 11 years old by then. And
now, did your family home survive through these years? So you could go back?
Everything was destroyed on the island. Everything was destroyed by the bombing. In Petey, where I was born, Agate, where we were living when the Japanese, came. Everything, the capital, Agania, they called the Plaza de España, the Plaza of Spain, and the governor's mansion behind it. They're all leveled by the bombing. And the American captain or admiral that became the governor of Guam during the occupation of the American in Guam. We call it occupation because the Japanese occupied Guam, the American occupied Guam, except the way they treat us is differently. And we live in Guam. We built our house after the American came, and then in 1947, my brother, his wife, and his son, Joseph Louis De Torres with the son. My brother's name is Jesus Carbolita De Torres, and his wife is Loli, Dolores Sablon De Torres. That's the family. They pack up and they went to the States. And my father and I followed. In May 1950, we got on the USS Jackson. The ship took 14 days to get to San Francisco, and we went. My mother and my brother Ken stayed behind to take care of business over there, to sell the house and everything. But they were offered my uncle, Felix Carbolita is his name. The American make him commissioner of agate, commissioner for the people. And he tried to buy our house for $300. $300. And my brother Ken says, I'd rather destroy the house than sell it for $300. I wouldn't take less than a couple of thousand. And they refused him. So my brother, he demolished that house down to nothing rather than take $300. And then my mom and Ken went to the States.
Now, why did your family decide to come to the States? What was the reason?
No, my father, he was familiar with the state because he was in the Navy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
And it was, better to be in the States than in Guam. And so when we were all in Guam, in California, we live in Pittsburgh where my brother Jesse settled down. And I was there 2 or 3 weeks. I joined the Air Force, the U.S. Air Force.
Well, now, how was that transition going from Guam to the United States? Was that much of an adjustment for you?
Oh, very.
And you said prior, you spoke Japanese, right?
Right. When the American let me go back. When the American came back, they opened up schools and everything. And they enrolled me in the 3rd grade. I can speak English. I can. And from the 3rd grade to the 11th grade, I didn't finish. I didn't graduate from high school then. Was maybe less than 2 years from the 3rd to the 11th grade, and I learned my English a little bit, broken English, so to speak. They were concerned about the grammar, and everything, as you probably realize, so this thing. But anyway, I joined the Air Force June 15, 1950, but prior to that, there was a lot of tests to determine whether I'll be qualified to be in the U.S. Air Force. I finally passed all the tests, all the battery tests and everything.
Now, how did you come to choose the Air Force instead of following your dad in the Navy or one of the other service branches?
Well, the advertisement at that time was all Air Force,
Okay.
So I chose the Air Force, and I had some knowledge about the Air Force while in Guam when they were bombing Tokyo and all that stuff. They were bombing Tokyo from Tinian, one of the islands. Mm-hmm. Guam is the biggest in the Marianas archipelago, and they had B-29s and everything. General Curtis LeMay was the general, and he was in charge of all that stuff. But they were in Tinian and Saipan, and they were bombing, having this B-29 flew to Japan and start bombing. Doolittle, he was a colonel, lieutenant colonel, that flew his B-26s from the aircraft carrier and started bombing there too. That was prior to the B-29s. And anyway, I was familiar a little bit about
Okay.
the Air Force. That's another thing that I chose the Air Force. So June 15, 1950, finally I was sworn in the Air Force. They send me and a bunch of recruits to San Antonio for basic training. San Antonio, Texas. Basic training was around 13 weeks and everything.
And how was that for you, going from civilian life into military life? And the basic training was, how did that go for you?
I didn't really, I was with the recruits and everything. They were as green as I was.
Oh, okay.
And but I started learning better English and everything. And after basic training, they sent us, a bunch of us, to Biloxi, Mississippi. So while in basic training, they gave us a battery test to see what our aptitude will be for training, you know. And they sent me and a bunch of us to Biloxi, Mississippi for a radar school,
Oh.
aircraft control and warning radar school. And while I was there, I was doing pretty good, except the commander of the school called me in and says, and my name was Torres then, not De Torres, because my dad just dropped, never, you know, for everything,
Really? Huh.
just dropped the D-E. And so I was Manuel Carbolito Torres. So anyway, the commander called me in and says, you know, Airman Torres, we have to wash you out at the radar school because your English is not very good, and you're going to be controlling aircraft, you know, radar, aircraft control and warning. It's a radar school. And he says, I asked him, is there any other way I could get my English right and my diction, my everything that will get me through school? So they send me down to Biloxi to a school to learn English, get rid of my what? Huh? Accent, yeah. Get rid of my accent, get my voice, my modulation of the English language, my diction and everything for 2 weeks, just 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And I did, and I passed. And I went back to the radar school, and I graduated. And from there, they sent me to a little town in Wisconsin, to an aircraft control and warning squadron in a place called Elkhorn, Wisconsin.
How was that? I mean, once again, here's this. I'm going to keep going back to this boy from Guam, this South Pacific, this Pacific island. Now you're up in the northern part of the United States in cold Wisconsin.
Right, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, with the name, and there was a radar station there. That's where they sent me, and I was doing pretty good. This, you know, in the ACNW squadron, this radar scope that they call PPI, Plant Position Indicators, and we track aircraft and everything and call it into headquarters for dissemination, and, you know, they do whatever they do at headquarters. And I did really good.
Did you enjoy the work? I mean,
I enjoy it because I don't know any other job. When I was at Guam, the Japanese, I was going to Japanese school, and when the American came back, I was working in a warehouse, you know. Anyway, from Elkhorn, Wisconsin, that was 1951 then.
Well, now let me ask you, up in Wisconsin, was that the first time you experienced snow?
Yes, yes, exactly. And it was snowing terribly. But I was enjoying
Were
it.
you?
Yeah. It was something
Very different.
something new.
Yeah.
And then from there, that was 1951. I was there in that station until November 1951. And then I got orders to go to Korea.
Oh, wow.
I joined the Air Force on June 15, 1950, and the Korean War started June 25th,
Yeah.
1950, a few days after I joined. And they sent me to Korea. But we stopped in Japan first
Oh.
to get orientation about Korea and
Yeah.
everything. And while I was there, they made me an interpreter in Cam Drake because I could speak Japanese. And I was fluent in Japanese and I could write it katakana and I can read it. And in fact, I have some deal here about the Japanese, but I was there for 3 months in Cam Drake as an interpreter. Then finally I was sent to Korea. I got in Korea on my birthday, December 31st, 1951, when I got to Korea.
Well, sorry to keep interrupting, but I want to go back real quickly during your time in Japan. How was that being after how they had treated you and your family in Guam? What was it like to be back in their homeland now?
I didn't get to see any Japanese.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
Only I was in the Camp Drake, American facility.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, while we took a quick break off camera, I was told a story about your childhood and with the Japanese soldier. Please tell the story. It's a very important story.
Right. While we were out of the concentration camp, my brother built a little hut for us, and the Japanese soldiers always coming around, try to get food, coconuts, and everything from us. And I was 10 or 11, and I all day long I've been climbing. I like a monkey climb up those coconut trees and everything, and I was exhausted, So this one Japanese told me, he says, "You go up and get me that coconut," He says, "I can't. I'm too tired," And I was a young baby, more or less.
Yeah.
And so he says, "You better go up there, or you're gonna get punished." And I just can't do it, so he bayoneted me right here. I still got the scar right now, right on my leg. And I had to go back and climb the tree, and I was bleeding and everything. And I was just 10 or 11 years old. So, and also prior to that, after that, when the Americans started coming, bombing Guam and everything, 2 young Japanese soldiers, they saved our life, the De Torreses, because they told us, don't go in that foxhole or cave at a certain date because you will get bombed and hand grenaded and everything. So we did not go into the cave and foxhole. We stayed out, we went into the jungle. And they were throwing hand grenades and everything. A lot of Guamanians were killed that way.
Wow.
And we were saved by these 2 Japanese young guys.
Wow.
So they had some humanity, I guess.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was it. So where did I stop?
So I'm glad we got these stories added. So now we moved ahead. You're now arrived in Korea on your birthday. Take your story from there.
Okay. I was assigned to, here's a picture of it.
Now, did you go over as a replacement or in a unit or?
Yeah, I went over the unit as it's an assignment.
Okay, but together in a unit or just as a replacement?
No, together in a unit.
Oh, okay.
I have a picture here of that.
Yeah, and we'll certainly dig that out when.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was there. There was I was assigned to the 605th Tactical Control Squadron. And that 605th Tactical Control Squadron under the headquarters 502nd Tactical Control Group. I don't know why I remember all that stuff, but because sometimes I have a little, senior moment. Anyway, I have a picture here in front of the squadron. But every night and day, there's a group of Japanese plane.
Korean.
Korean plane. Tried to bomb where the headquarters and everything, and they went under the radar so they will not be detected. See? And every time that happened, the siren will go on, and we run to the foxhole and all that stuff. And in one of those episodes, I ran into the foxhole and hit my head on the side and broke my back, my 5th cervical vertebrae. And I told him, forget about it, because it happened again when the fighters, the Japanese Korean Zeros, come and start doing it, and I did the same thing and ruined them and got it worse. So I was sent to Kimpo.
Well, now with that, were you entitled to the Purple Heart for that?
That's what I was going to tell you. I got letters here.
All right.
I was sent to Kimpo Air Base. It's I think GS, but Area 8 or something like that. From Kimpo, I was sent to the Japanese hospital in Tokyo, Army Hospital Annex in Tokyo, Japan. I was there, 6-8 weeks, cast from my neck down to my waist and everything. And I was doing pretty good. I was walking around and everything. And I was an ambulatory patient, helping all those people who lost arms and legs. They are from the front line, and helping them out and everything. And ultimately, they took the cast off after about 6 weeks, and I was around helping all those guys. But after that, they were sent to the States. But they sent me right back to Korea.
Really? Wow.
So I was there close to 18 months. And in 1953, just before the armistice, they sent me back to home. I call it home because it was my home then.
Yeah.
And it was real funny. Because and I had cast on, and the whole works, and a nurse was helping me, and the word, for some reason, they spread the word that there's a hero coming home. Me, I wasn't a hero. I was just a plain old airman, second class. and they took pictures and all that stuff, getting off the ship and all that. And they were used ship, nowadays they put you on a plane, and there was a hero. So who the hell is that hero? It was me. Pictures and all. I I took it all home, you know. I took it all in. Gosh, I'm a hero. My whole I wasn't a hero. My whole family were there and everything, pictures and all that. And I had a 30-day leave before I go to my next station. And I had the family up to date with my experience in Korea and all that. And well, in Korea, I didn't say this, from the 305th Tactical Control Squadron under the 502nd Tactical Control Group, they sent me and 3 or 4 others to the 8th Army to be attached to the 8th Army in Korea.
Oh.
And my job was an operator in the plotting all the airstrikes and everything from the north with the F-86, F-89, and F-109 or something like that.
Okay.
And my job there at the 8th Army is to plot on a horizontal plotting board where the airplanes are, so the generals up there can make a decision of what action to take. And I was with them until I was ready to go home. And my job was very critical in that I have to make sure that my plotting, what you do is a big horizontal plotting board, and you have chits that you throw to where in a big stick where you put those airplane at, with the chits. And
So you were looking on a radar, finding that location, then putting that location on a board?
yes,
Okay.
and also strike reports from the plane coming back. And one funny thing is, we got a report from one of the F-86 fighters. And the Korean, they fertilize their field with human excrement
the honeypots
and everything. So it was so funny that all of us there with the 8th Army and everything, we were laughing like hell because one of the reports from the F-86 fighter plane said, I encountered a Japanese MiG-15, and we fought and everything, and I knocked him down. And on my way back, there was a Chinese MiG-15, and on my way back, I knocked that MiG-15 on the air battle and everything, and that thing splashed they call it the honey bucket.
Yeah, yeah.
It says it splashed over to this honey bucket, and I knocked the shit out of it. That's exactly it. It was funny and everything. Anyway, after I was reassigned to the States from the 8th Army, and that went home on the ship and everything. That's when I came in, and I was called a hero. It was funny. It was funny. And I had a 30-day leave in California with my family, and then I was assigned to Custer Air Force Station in Michigan.
How much time did you have left on your enlistment? Were you?
Oh, I still got about a year and a half or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I was stationed there to a radar station. It's a ACNW station at Custer Air Force Station. Also with the Army. I'm always with the Army.
Really? Huh?
And I was there until my discharge. on June 14, 1954. And while I was there, I met a girl and I got married to her and all that. Her name was, what is her name? Mary Jane Baker. And we had a son, David Manuel De Torres. He's my son. Anyway, well, we drove from, there was an advertisement that if you're going to California, San Francisco, we have a car here free for you just for transporting the car to California. So we got one of those cars, and I remember it's a Plymouth something. Anyway, I gathered the family up and we drove to California. And while we were there, we decided to live in San Francisco, which we did. And I went all over looking for a job, and I couldn't find a job. But I joined the California National Guard then. And from there, I got a job with the California National Guard as a senior radar operator. My rank was NGM 15 Sergeant. And I worked for them for 32 months. And I enjoyed it. I made more money than I did in the Air Force. And I was a full-time employee of the National Guard. And then from there, I was discharged from, I asked to be discharged, and I went and joined the Air Force Reserve in Oakland, California, with a grade of Staff Sergeant. And from there, I still got the papers from the credit, from the, where they send, what is that, they send you a cable and everything, what do they call that? Telegram. From the U.S. Air Force. It said, by order of the President of the United States, you're hereby recalled to active duty, 1957, I think it was. Yeah. And I got that order from the President.
Why, we had nothing going on then. Why did you get recalled? Do you know?
I don't know.
Huh, wow.
Well, what was going on was, the satellites and all that. And I was in the Air Force controlling aircraft. That's why. And I was sent to Albuquerque, New Mexico. The 313th Air Division. I was a crew chief, staff sergeant there. And I got all that information there. But and I was there. Well, and I got that message, telegram.
Yes.
That's what I got. Telegram from the Air Force or from the President. By order of the President of the United States, you are hereby directed to get back to active duty and to report at 313th Air Division, Air Control Center in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Huh. So, while I was there, incidentally,
Did you have any more children?
Yeah, I had Tony when I was out, in the Air Force, when I was stationed with the National Guard. My son Tony was born December 8, 1955. And then when I was sent to Albuquerque, we had a daughter there, Barbara Carbolito de Torres, was born in October 8, 1957.
So the family was able to come to New Mexico with you then?
Yes,
Okay.
concurrent travel.
Yeah. Okay.
So while there, I got an order from the Air Force to go to Okinawa.
Oh, jeez.
And that was in 1959. No, 1958. I was assigned to a radar station in Okinawa with a little island called Kumishima, which is about 50 miles west of the mainland of Okinawa. Well, in Okinawa, in 1959, I had a TDY order to go to Formosa, Taiwan, to be assigned to the 13th Air Task Force in Okinawa. And from there, I was sent from Taiwan in Okinawa to a little island called
Oh, that's okay. But
anyway, they had a colony of sick people there that what do you call that when
the
you get
leopards?
leprosy camp? Yes, a leprosy camp right from where we're at there in Okinawa. I mean in Taipei, Okinawa, Formosa.
Uh-huh.
And I was assigned to a radar squadron there as an advisor for an aircraft control and warning, as an advisor for the controllers there to learn how to engage in interception with the MiG-15 from China.
From mainland China?
Yeah, from mainland China. And while I was there, I had a big responsibility teaching those nationalist Chinese how to control aircraft and how to engage and intercept enemy aircraft. And we get our supply from the mainland in Formosa. I wish I can remember that little island.
That was just off of Formosa.
Yeah, it's off Formosa, about 50 miles.
Okay.
And while there, they had this big war between China and Taiwan
Oh, wow.
called Operation Quick Kick. And from Formosa, they were sending supplies to us in this island. And we were, one of my duties is to teach those officers in the Nationalist Air Force, Nationalist Chinese Air Force, how to control aircraft, surveillance control, to get the supply to Quemoy, Matsu, the war there. And one day, we had this MiG-15 approaching our island, and I told one of this, in fact, I got a picture of this officer whom I was teaching how to intercept this thing. And we were using F-104 aircraft from Taipei, and I was teaching him how to intercept and kill the MiG-15 from mainland China. And I was controlling him and everything, and everything was going so well. And I told him how to have what they call an upside-down engagement, where you're flying and you flip 180 degrees, like that, and then come back and then knock down the Chinese. And I was real proud of it because I was the controller in charge of it.
And how did you learn that technique?
through, through the
that's something that we was
ship control. I learned that from
Really? Okay.
the Air Force.
Huh.
Because that was my job, aircraft control and warning controller. And I learned how to have them go out and then go 360 degrees up, after that.
And you would tell him that you would
Yeah,
you would
I
say,
would-
okay, at this point now switch, now go up. You were directing him.
Right, I was controlling him like that, and then he was behind the MiGs after all that maneuver and shot him down.
Wow.
And really, and that came back to headquarters that Staff Sergeant De Torres was controlling that with a Chinese student, a captain, nationalist Chinese. And that went all over the squadron and all that stuff.
You're a hero again.
Yeah, I was a hero, more or less, except for one. See, there were 6 of us technicians, all sergeants, staff sergeants and technical sergeants, and 6 officers, U.S. officers, full controllers. And the controller, the U.S. controller officer, all they were doing is observing us to see whether we were doing the right thing, And what I did was commendable, really.
Oh yeah.
And except for one, and all the other 5 officers said, good deal, good job, De Torres, Sergeant De Torres, except for one officer. He said, oh, that's nothing, that's normal. He says, he didn't give me any credit or anything. His name is, he's an Italian officer, U.S. officer from Chicago. I wish I could remember his name, but I can't. Except for him, he didn't give me no credit or anything.
Really? You never got an award or anything for that?
Well, I was written up for an award, but because of what he said, I didn't get the award. Since that was a routine deal. There was nothing routine about the maneuver that I gave this nationalist Chinese captain. Nothing routine about it. It was commendable, and everything. Then after all this stuff here, went to a little outpost where Chiang Kai-shek was staying in a
really?
hotel. Oh, yeah. And I get to see him. I didn't talk to him or anything, but I get to see him. Chiang Kai-shek, he was there and with his bodyguards and all that stuff, And it's one of the outposts that he worked out of. And from there went back to I wish I could remember the island.
The Pescadores Island?
No, Pescadores. Yeah, that's in the Pescadores Island.
I just Googled it, so.
Yeah. One of the island of the Pescadores were all this sick people,
Leopards.
Leopards were. So we were warned not to go near there. Well, anyway, while I was there, they throw a big party for the American, and I was the honor guest because of what I did.
Yeah.
Except this doggone lieutenant from. He was jealous of what I did.
Sure.
And he wrote down there, this is nothing. It's nothing deal. That was a routine thing. He never controlled an aircraft that is engaged to an enemy. Well, anyway, from there I was shipped back to Okinawa, where my regular station is.
And did the family come to Okinawa, or they stay stateside?
No, just me.
Okay.
It was non-accompanied.
Okay.
And from there, they sent me back to the States. And believe it or not, I was sent back to the same Custer Air Force Station.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really funny. And from there, I got my four years in and got discharged. anyway, with all this stuff, I was saying, I got employed. I went to San Francisco, of course, and I got employed with the California National Guard as a full-time employee in GM 15.
So you went back to the National Guard after this stint in the Air Force?
Yeah, I go to the National Guard, yes.
So you went back. So twice. This is the second time to the National Guard?
No, just one time.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So
And I got back to, when to the Air Force station there in Oakland where in fact, they're the one responsible for getting me back to active duty.
okay.
So, while in active duty, like I said, I was sent to
Yeah.
to 313th Air Division, and then to Okinawa, and then to 13th Air Task Force in Formosa and back.
And so you fulfilled that stint.
Yes.
Yeah. And you got out at that point, or did you decide to make it a career? Or?
Yeah, I decided to stay in.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I was stationed from there. I was from Battle Creek, Custer Air Force Station in Battle Creek. I was sent to, this is an accompanied tour to Iceland.
Oh, jeez.
And I was attached to the Navy in Iceland. I always attached to some of the, I was attached to, this is an accompanied tour. I was still with my first family. And it was accompanied tour. And while I was there, I was NCOIC of the Air Force section, and the Navy got a chief, E9 or something, and I was only E5. They were responsible for the submarine Air Force, and we were responsible for the air and tactical control of the sky, the Air Force.
Is that where Penny was born?
No, Penny was born later.
Okay.
Anyway, when I was there, I did a tremendous job with the Air Force that I helped save Peter II Victor Navy four-propel Navy aircraft that detect submarines, and they were shut down by what they call bear Russian aircraft.
Really?
That Peter II Victor was shut down.
Really? Wow.
And it was responsible for the Air Force getting there to salvage the airplane and save the pilots and the air crew. And as a result of that, I got an Air Force Commendation Medal.
Finally.
Yeah, and I got that deal here.
Yeah, and we'll dig that out too. Yeah.
And incidentally, this is my first family.
Yeah. Okay. We'll certainly look at that when. Yeah.
And then from there,
Well, what's interesting is you were involved in things that really weren't talked about. I mean, had never heard about the incident with Taiwan and China, the war going on, and did that when that Russian plane shot down our plane, that had to be big news. Was it a big thing, or was it held hush hush? Or
I don't know whether it is, but it was a big thing with our squadron, the Air Force squadron.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I got an Air Force Commendation Medal. And I didn't get that Commendation Medal till they shipped me back to the States and assigned me to NORAD.
Oh, wow.
I worked in NORAD as an air tactical controller with my own computer. That computer was so big, and the whole computer for NORAD was in a big house, room and everything. And you can do it now with one of those little,
right,
you know.
Yeah.
But I was there, and I didn't have a good deal there in Norene, because the commander or the controller, the air chief controller of it, was a full colonel, and I replace a guy who is more or less a slave of this colonel. He got his coffee, he's got his dinner from the mess hall, because inside that NORAD, there's 13 buildings.
Now, NORAD here in the Springs or in Omaha?
No, and here in the Springs.
Okay.
No, Omaha is not ADC, it's strategic.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And there were 13 buildings, and they got everything. They had 12 giant generators. They got a lake. They got a hospital. They got a mess hall, and everything. So the guy that I replaced, he was treating this colonel like he was a slave. Bring him his coffee at the beginning of the shift, bring him his meal during mealtime and everything, you know. So when he left, I took over as an assistant command director technician. That was my title. Assistant command director technician to this colonel.
Yeah, jeez.
So I started off doing exactly what the guy was doing that I replaced. And then one of the officers says, you know, Sergeant D, you don't have to do that. You're no slave. You're an assistant command director technician. So I stopped. I stopped bringing him his coffee, and I stopped bringing him his meal and all that stuff. So one day he called me, and we went behind the dais where the big plexiglass looked down at the control center, where all the going on from the 50 states. You know, we know exactly what's going on in Alaska and everything. And I was the assistant command director of that thing. I had a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And I was still a staff sergeant. Nobody, you know, I had so many recommendations to mix tech, and I never did because of the prejudices.
Yeah, I want to talk about that later, yes.
So anyway, he called me behind the dais. He said, Sergeant De Torres, you're supposed to bring my coffee and bring my meal when it's time and all that stuff, just like the other guy that you replace. And he says, that's not part of my duty, sir, you know. He says, your duty is what I tell you to do. And besides, you dark people were born to be slaves of us. He told me that. And as soon as he told me that, this is a full colonel, I hit him. Oh. I hit him so hard that, and everybody on the dais, just behind the dais, heard that big bang and all that stuff. And he was a colonel. I was a staff sergeant. My career just fell apart. But I didn't care. We weren't slaves. The brown people are not slaves and all that. So we came down. He had a big gash on his face. And everybody says, what happened? There's nothing happened, you know. And the colonel says, nothing happened. Just forget about it.
Really?
Yeah. He didn't even report it and everything. Oh. But on my efficiency report, he showed it. He showed it. And the crew chief, my crew chief, was with the colonel, and he gave me a really bad report and everything. One of two bad reports, the other one was outstanding report. So from there, they sent me to Amarillo Air Force Base in Texas to send me there to an aircraft control and warning squadron. I did a lot of good things with NORAD, reporting incoming enemy aircrafts and everything. And I had my, now I don't know nothing about computers, but then I had my computer and everything. Anyway, I was sent to Amarillo Air Force Base as a crew chief and everything. I was there for about a year and everything. My father died and everything. Sent me in. Anyway, from Amarillo, I was sent to Spain as an advisor, control advisor for the Spanish Air Force. I was always an advisor with a rank of only staff sergeant. And, it's a master sergeant's job. And I taught those Spanish controllers how to control aircraft and all that stuff. Except the assignment in Spain was a place, Palma de Mallorca, one of the best assignments, It's a resort place. I had a Villa Jose Maria, where I live, $67 a month for it, and I had a maid, and I had a guy to take care of the outside, and it's like a fortress because it got a big wall around it. Outside of it is a regular highway, and 5 minutes from the Mediterranean beach. And we were paying, beside our paycheck monthly, we get $16 a month per diem. And we were living like a king, like kings. And we rent a boat, for example, or to go out fishing and diving and all that stuff in the Mediterranean. And then Barcelona is exactly 100 miles north of us. And when my car came, I went to Barcelona, got on the ship or whatever you want to call it, they carried my car to Palma, and was there. And we just had a ball. We had party. We have downtown. So this is a Soler Air Station in Palma, in Mallorca, and the air station was about 15 miles away, up in the tallest mountain in Mallorca, with snow and everything. I mean, it snows up there, and we either take a train or drive up there. So we take a train, and we missed the train. We drove. It was fantastic and everything. And when we're stuck up there, we got a big compound where all the billeting and all that there, a big BX and a big mess hall. And we had a ball. And we were there for 3 years.
Is that when Eddie was born?
No.
Not even then?
No. Penny was born, we were anyway, we were sent back to the States from there. And I was assigned to the Detroit Air Defense Sector, which is in the Upper Peninsula of California, of Michigan, Sault Ste. Marie, and all those other places were up there, except Detroit Air Defense Sector is attached to a little town in the Upper Peninsula. That's where my daughter Penny was born in. What is the town? Anyway, she was born there. And from there, I was sent back to the States. I was it was called, anyway, everybody that was sent out there to Detroit Defense Sector was sent to Missouri for radar school. It's called SAGE School. It's to learn how to operate the new system, SAGE. It's all computerized.
Right.
We were in school for all the officers and all the non-commissioned officer, and I was only a staff sergeant, but after the school was 2 months long. Officers and the sergeants, which is non-commissioned officers, were together in school. We were separated. My boss, who came out number 1 in the school, I came out number 2.
Oh, really?
I came out number 2 of the whole shebang. With must be 20 officers and a bunch of high-ranking sergeants, and we were proud of that.
Yeah.
And that was assigned with him up at SAGE at Sault Marie, which is Detroit Air Defense Sector, and I was there. And there I got my enlisted there. I got 20 years and I got discharged. But prior to my discharge, I was sent to Hill Air Force Base, Utah. That's when I met that lady there. I was already divorced,
Okay.
and she was divorced, but I didn't know her.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I knew her for 3 months at Hill Air Force Base. They promoted me to tech sergeant, and they made me first sergeant. And I got pictures of it.
Yep, and we'll look at that. Uh-huh.
Doing my first sergeant at 4688 Defense System Evaluation Squadron. What we do, or what we did there, is train all the people, all pilots and all that stuff, going to Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
We trained them all and everything. And my
But Daddy, you got to mention Paulina before.
no, but Paulina was born later, honey.
Well, yeah, but you.
Yeah,
talked
well,
about
anyway,
meeting me.
I was sent to, from there, I was sent to, while I was there, I was sent to a radar station in Montana. And while in Montana, my daughter named Paulina Dawn was born. And from there, I had a,
Was there any worry about being transferred to Vietnam?
no, the Vietnam War was going on, but I was never selected to go to Vietnam. And from Montana, anyway, I went all over. I was sent to Washington, D.C. I met her at Hill Air Force Base. Then I was sent to Washington, D.C., assigned to one of the radar stations attached with the Army again. That's what the station was, where the CIA was.
Oh, jeez.
And as a first sergeant, I knew her for 3 months, communicating by phone and everything. And I would take a leave, went back to Utah, and we got married.
Wow.
Just 3 months after I knew her. And From there, I was sent back to NORAD. And from NORAD, I lost my rank of first sergeant, not tech sergeant, but first sergeant, because they came out with a regulation that to be a first sergeant, you have to be at least a master sergeant. And I was so I lost my job as a first sergeant, but not my rank. And I was sent to NORAD and everything. Then from NORAD, I was sent downtown to what they called the Chitla building. It was the headquarters that's for NORAD. NORAD was the operations and administration is in the Chitla building. And I was assigned to my old commander camp, Colonel Cap, is his name, Colonel Cap. I had all kinds of recommendation for masters, all kinds, even an officer, general officer. Because while I was at 54th, I was with Cap in the training the pilots and everything to go to Vietnam and all that. When they had what they call an evaluation for the squadron, we came out first in the whole United States under my supervision, because I was the first sergeant then. I had that big recommendation from the general, lieutenant general, Colonel Cap, and all that stuff, but never got promoted because that two evaluation, one from that colonel that I punched out, and another one from my crew chief. That never got out of my record. So I retired as a tech sergeant and everything from Chitla. December 1st, 1975. And I already had a job working for a company called Fiska gas station. And I was made manager and in charge of the whole region from Colorado, northern Colorado, all the way down to, what is the name? No, all the way down to Harlingen, Texas. That's where South Boundary Island was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Your area was that large?
Oh yeah, that big. And there was a guy that had the job, and when they hired me, he became my assistant. He says, "Hey, you got a guy in charge of everything." He said, "Don't worry." It's because of my Air Force, I guess. He says, "You're in charge. You are this area supervisor."
And what were your responsibilities? What would you?
I was responsible for the operation of the whole company in that area.
Wow.
Operations and training and everything, and building, because where they send me there, I had a station in between that are gas stations, and I was in charge of building those stations. My wife come, and with my daughters, I had 2 daughters in our marriage. We had 2 daughters. One was born in April of August 1974, And then Dee Dee was born, and May
77.
24th, 1977, and they were born, not marriage. And she drove down to Harlingen when I was there with the kids to see me. I had a motor home that I lived in while down there, and they drove down there. And she always carried a gun. And she stopped in this motel on her way down there and forgot the gun in this motel. So she called back and says, I stopped there and I left my gun. And the management said, yeah, we found that gun and we kept it because we figure whoever owned it will come back. And my wife, and Norene says, yeah, we'll pick it up on my way back. And she did, and everything. And I was at Harlingen, and they went to school there for a few months and everything. And they had trouble too because of my beautiful daughter's color. Look at her color, And they thought they were Mexican. Anyway,
We went to school in San Antonio first.
Huh?
We went to school in San Antonio when you went there.
Yeah,
And
well,
when you went
yeah.
to Harlingen.
Yeah,
We didn't know
well,
where-
Harlingen is in between San Antonio. We went to San Antonio first. We had a good time there. We always have fiesta and all kinds of Mexican food and everything.
Hey, Dad, when did you put the DE back to your last name?
Oh, yeah. Well, the DE came back with her name while I was stationed at 313th Air Division in Albuquerque. Is that because I put in for officer school? So we can't send you to officer school because on your application you had D. On your birth certificate it says DE/Torres, and you've been going with just Torres, and your name is actually De Torres. So they put down the De Torres, changed the name and everything, and I didn't go to officer school because of that. So I got cheated again.
Oh, geez.
Well, I had more,
Yeah.
And so anyway, when he came back to Kansas City, which is the headquarters for Fiska Company, Fiska Oil Company, because they promised me that I will get a job right there in headquarters at Fiska. But when I got there, it says, Mr. De Torres, we can keep you here because somebody got your job that is senior to you, Okay, that's fine. But we'll send you to Maine.
Oh, jeez.
I'll send you to Maine to be in charge of the New England state plus New York and Pennsylvania. So that's sixth state in New
England.
In New England plus 2, so that's 8. And my wife said, no, we're not going. So I resigned from there, and that's when we came back to, that's when we stayed in Colorado, of course, in battle, in
Colorado.
Colorado Springs.
Beer.
I'm getting that senior moment.
Yeah, well, in
Anyway,
94, you're entitled to have a senior moment.
anyway, I wrote dozens and dozens of resume, and sent it out and everything, and I couldn't get a job. I had an offer from North Dakota to be a mayor of that big city in North Dakota.
Fargo?
Fargo.
Bismarck? Or,
Anyway, the big city
Uh-huh.
in North Dakota, to be a mayor.
oh, wow.
Yeah, because of my qualification, I had gone to the University of Colorado and got my degree and all that stuff right here.
Wow. Did you use the GI Bill to get?
Yes,
Yeah.
the GI Bill. I didn't pay anything. They pay me to go to school with a supplemental income. So,
And what'd you get your degree in?
political science.
Oh, wow.
Right, it says right here.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I didn't get no offer or anything, except, and I got all resumes spread all over the state of Colorado, and outside the state. So I was in the post office at Colorado Springs, and I saw this ad in the paper, the wanting correctional officer for the state of Colorado. And if you're interested, we will be giving a test for correctional officer in Buena Vista, Colorado at such and such a date. Well, I put in my application and everything, and they say you can come to Buena Vista and take the test. When I got down there, there were 158 people applying for it. And I was already 50-some years old, 55 or 57. Anyway, the test was all day long, everything. Lucky I got a 10% for my service in the military. 10% that they give me is a grade, And we took a test, and believe it or not, out of the 158, I came out number 2, counting that 10% that I got. That's what got me up to number 2. And they said, boy, I'm going to get a job yet. So I was interviewed there in Buena Vista, and everywhere I was interviewed. Never got the job. Really? Never got offered for the job. 7 months later, my grade was good for 7 months. And after that, you have to retake a test again or whatever. 7 months later, I got a call from Buena Vista. His name is Manager Bel Antonio, was his name. He was a lieutenant, acting manager, acting major in the security department. He said, Mr. De Torres, I was looking at your grade here, and I'm interested in hiring you. He says, yeah, but my grade is gone. It's 7 months. I said, don't worry about that. I'm the boss here for hiring. I'd like to hire you as an officer in the security department. Not knowing that I could have been hired as a lieutenant because of my administrative grade, right, and all that stuff. But I don't care, because I got a job, and it says, if you're interested, report to Canyon City for orientation and training for the job of officer. So I report to Canyon City, and I was getting training and all that stuff. And the training was, 13 weeks long. And on my 6 weeks, this one big bulky guy. Remember, I was over 50.
Yes.
We were having martial training, and he got me,
Oh, no.
slammed me, and broke 3 ribs on me. And the training officer This Mr. De Torres, we have to wash you out, because you can't finish this training with 3 broken ribs and everything. Yes, can I ask you, please, can you just tape it up and everything, and I'll try? So we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. So they taped me up and everything, and I went back to the training, and I graduated.
Wow.
After, 13 weeks or something. And I graduated, and they sent me right back to Buena Vista, where I was hired. So I was in Buena Vista, and there was a captain, and that Captain Powers is his name. He was the officer in charge of training and promotion. So in order to get promoted, you have to take from officer to sergeant. You have to pass the training, and be recommended. So I was there, and every time they come out for promotion, I put in my application. Boom, no promotion. And after almost 2.5 years at Buena Vista, I took another test for promotion to sergeant. And the guy who was number 7 on the training grade got promoted, and I came up number 1 on training, and I didn't get promoted. So I confronted this Captain Powers, and I said, "Sir, I came out number 1 on the test, and you promoted number 7. He says, Officer De Torres, I'm in charge of training and promotion, and what I say goes. Besides, I hate Mexican." Don't call me in my face. I told him, "You know what?"
Keep talking.
I said, "I'm not Mexican, and I'm going to go to high headquarters and find out about this." And I went to headquarters right here in Colorado Springs, where the headquarters was, and the director of the department of the DOC, Department of Corrections, name is Zavaris, was the name of the director. I went up there and I talked to the guy who's the personal director, and I said, "You have to talk to the assistant director, his name is Sullivan." And I talked to him, He said, "Mr. De Torres, I know your predicament, because you're not the only one that get this kind of, action and everything. That there are other people who took the test and everything, but because of the what do you call it? The prejudices and all that stuff, you were kept where you're at." So I said, "Is there any way I can see the director?" He says, "Yeah, we'll set a date and everything for you to see the director, Director Zavaris." So I got to see him, and we talk and everything. I show him all my credential and everything, and I forgot about it. A few weeks later, I got a letter from him. He says, he says, "I talked to the Governor Roy Romer, about it, and he's going to schedule you to take a test for sergeant," because I was not allowed to take the test. So I took the test, and believe it or not, when I took the test, they didn't give me the same test that the others guys got. They make a completely different test to give me with a man watching over me while I take the test on the basement floor of the place where I took the test. I took the test, and I got a good grade. I think I came out number 3 or something. And they said, I'll turn this into the governor and see what he says. Turn it to the governor. The governor referred me to the director, Zavaris. And Zavaris came out with an edit that says, you're hereby promoted to sergeant. That's because I fought it.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So I stayed a sergeant and then transferred to Territorial Correctional Facility in Canyon City. That's the oldest prison in Colorado, Territorial. And when I was there, they start coming in with information to take the test for lieutenant. I took the test for lieutenant and come out with really good grades, and everything. And then they came out and says, you have to have 1 year in grade as a sergeant before you can take the test for lieutenant. I went back to headquarters and I talked to the Assistant Director Sullivan, and he said, you're getting a really bad deal on this thing, Sergeant De Torres. And I said, can I talk to the director? And I said, yeah, in fact, I can you can talk to him right now. And I talked to the director and everything. He says, why is it that they're constantly taking me back, And they said, I'll find out about it. And he talked to somebody, and he came back to me, and he says, I'm going to set up a time for you to take the test, because you meet all the requirement to be a lieutenant. And I took the test for lieutenant, and I came up on top as a lieutenant, And then I got a letter from Zavaris that says, you are promoted to lieutenant, effective blah, blah, blah. That's after 3 years in the Department of Correction. So I stayed a lieutenant for a long, long time. I became a case manager, and I had 75 to 100 inmate in my caseload and everything. I stayed at lieutenant. Then on my 5th year in the department, they came up with a edit for captain. So I start studying for captain. And I took a test, the early part of my 6th year in the department. And while I was required to take the test, I met a guy from Lyman Correctional Facility who was also taking the tests. And we talked, and he says, I asked him, what's your qualification for taking the test? He said, my qualification is I was a driver for the Brinks company.
Security,
yeah. And I'm taking courses for my Bachelor of Science. I said, fine. I said, what's yours? This I'm also taking a test, and I have a Bachelor of Science degree, blah, 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 And anyway, we finally took the test for captain, and 2-3 weeks later, I got a grade. He's got a grade. He got a grade for number 7. I got a grade for number 2. But he got promoted for captain, and I didn't. A grade number 2. So I'm back to the Department of Correction headquarters. And this time I talked to Zavaris. I talked to the Director of Personnel. And Zavaris, who is the director, says, you have to talk to Governor Romeo. And I did. I talked to him. I says, sir, I am getting another bullshit. And I put the word bullshit right off the bat.
Fair enough.
Because they are, because of my, and Romo was Mexican, Romero was the name, and he took the name Romo when he became governor. And he said, I'll look into it, and I'll talk to Zavaris about it.
So where we left off, Zavaris had you talk to the deputy in regards to that captain's test.
Yes.
Continue your story.
Okay. So finally, Deputy Sullivan says, he should have been a captain, because he got Zavaris said, you are going to get promoted, and in 2 months you'll get it, or 2 weeks. So I got a letter from Zavaris, and it reads, Dear, and he said right off the bat, Dear Captain De Torres, you hereby promoted to captain, effective immediately. After Mr. Zavaris, who is the director of the Department of Correction, he sent me a letter that I am reporting. I, as a captain, and report to Fremont Correctional Facility in charge of operations and training at Fremont Correctional Facility. At the time, the second largest correctional facility in Colorado. So while I was there at Fremont Correctional Facility, they gave me another responsibility for operations and training, to be in charge of recreation. And I was in charge of 6 first lieutenants who have been glad a long time, for up to 2, 3, 4 years as lieutenant, and I was just a real novice captain, because all those guys outranked me as lieutenant. And one guy was promised to be the first captain that would take over operations and training. And then when I got promoted, I got sent there at Fremont Correctional Fremont Correctional Facility in charge of it, and that guy who was promised as the next captain. Oh, he was mad at me. I told all those guys, I says, listen, I took the test, you guys took the same test I did, and I got promoted because I got a higher test. And finally, they realized that, hey, we got to work with this captain because he got the deed. The issue is because he worked for it.
Yeah.
And then the bad perk came along. A girl sergeant. She accused me of harassment, and I got me a good lawyer, and who is part of the Department of Correction. And we had talk and everything, and everything. And he said, you know what, you got a big hot stuff in here. They cheer and run after you and all that, He said, but I'm going to talk about it and take you in front of
A jury?
Yeah, within the Department of Corrections, and they took like a court, and the whole bit. Got a letter from Zavaris, and he said, De Torres, Lieutenant De Torres, am reverting you back to captain because they found out that they beat the
like a false accusation?
yeah, right, the accusation, and we're going to revert you back to captain and send you back to your job as a captain. And he did.
Yeah.
And I stayed there I took tests for major, and I got a chance to get to be a major, and be transferred up to another facility up into one of the biggest at that time, the correctional facility, which is close to go there.
Oh, by Sterling?
Yes, Sterling Correctional Facility.
Yeah.
That's where they were going to send me. And my wife says, no, we're not. You put in your to get
retirement,
and let's get out of the department. I did, and
so how many years altogether were you in the correctional?
11 years
and a bunch of months.
But 11 years and 7 months.
Okay.
With the Department of Correction, and I retired as a captain.
Oh, good.
And that was my Department of Correction.
Well, we'll start to wind down this interview because I've taken a lot of your time, and I know I'm starting to wear you out. But let's talk just briefly about family, and then we'll and then just talk as much or as little as you want about your family, and we'll end it.
Like I said, I have a first family, and I was married to her with this is it here.
Yeah, and we'll show that picture here in a second. So there was.
I was married to her for 18 years.
And 4 children from that marriage?
5 children.
5 children?
And it was here on the picture here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then after we got divorced after 18 years,
and then you married Norene?
I met her and I married to her.
And I had 2 children.
And we have 2 children.
And she had 2. And she had 2 prior.
2 prior.
2 children.
So total
Nine children, yeah?
Right.
And how many grandchildren, great-grandchildren? Maybe you need help.
We had two daughters and a total of
That's me.
38 grandchildren
Wow.
within the two of us. And 27 great-grandchildren. And 3 great-great-grandchildren.
Wow. Well, is there anything, in order to jump in, if there's anything you can, I know we probably only got the tip of the iceberg of your story. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about, or any of the stories, or any questions you have?
Well, we've been married 53 years.
53 years. Wow.
53 years.
Wow.
And my first marriage was only 18 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did pretty good. I worked with the Department of Corrections, and then after I retired, I became incidentally, I'll go back a little bit. While I was in Buena Vista, I became an adjunct professor for criminal justice and political science.
Yeah.
That was the deal.
Yeah. Very good. Wow.
And then,
And you did that where?
well,
Where were you teaching?
for 2 years while I was in
What
Buena
college?
Vista. And then
For what college?
What college?
Colorado Mountain College.
Oh, okay.
Colorado
Mountain College? Uh-huh.
Mountain.
Anyway, that is my story about my work and experiences. And with the help of my wife, I wouldn't have succeeded in any way,
Oh, wow.
in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
She is, when looking for a job, when I first, got out of the Air Force, and I couldn't find a job.
Yeah.
But I was in charge of Fiscal Oil Company.
Right.
She took over and ran the company.
When he had an operation.
Yeah, and I had an operation, and she took the company. And also when I was going to school, she helped me
Wow.
tremendously.
Wow.
And
That's
I
wonderful.
wouldn't have succeeded. After I got my bachelor's degree, I worked for my master's
Yeah.
at the University of Southern California, and without her, I wouldn't have succeeded because everything that I do, she's involved in.
Well, that's
And I
wonderful.
was so glad that she did. And that's our life.
Well, pictures, honey, do you want to?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to show you
Yeah,
all of
we'll do
this.
that. So, well, Manuel, I want to thank you very much for sitting down to tell a fascinating story. But just as importantly, I want to thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you very much. I was in for 25 years, 7 months in the United States Air Force.
Very good.
Go ahead.
Between his assignment at NORAD,
No, say your. Between my assignment.
between my assignment at NORAD, that's North American Air Defense Command, and Hill Air Force Base, I was assigned at Hamilton Air Force Base, San Francisco, California.
Okay. And what did you say about the people with tweed? Say that again.
The American
You said the
soldiers-
American soldiers. There was 5 that escaped.
There were a total of 6
American.
6 American sailors who were captured by the Japanese tweet himself, and they went into the woods.
The
5 of them were captured except Tweets. Tweets remained in the jungle until the American returned to Guam, recaptured Guam.
Okay.
Okay,
But
I
you
got
talked
one more
about
thing.
the fight.
The
of
5
those.
were captured and executed by the Japanese.
Yeah, but do that.
I have another one that I forgot to mention is, while I was stationed at Chitlow in downtown Colorado Springs, you mentioned that, I was sent to Korea for the 2nd time
Oh, okay.
and came back. And that's when and came back from Korea. I was assigned as a training and administrator at Peterson Air Force Base. And then from Peterson Air Force Base, I went back to Chitlow and I was retired from there, from the Air Force. That's it. If you can. That is a picture of my parents, Jose De Torres and Barbara Carbolito De Torres, my mom and dad. They were both born in Guam. My father was born February 15, 1888, and my mother was born December 4, 1893.
Wow.
That was the picture of Guam during the Japanese occupation. And we have some pictures if you want to take them. But that was a picture of me while I was at Biloxi, Mississippi, at the initial part of my career in the Air Force. That is a picture of me while I was with the California National Guard.
After you got out of the Air Force the first
After
time?
I got out of the Air Force.
Okay.
That is a group picture of my crew while I was stationed at Custer Air Force Station in Battle Creek, Michigan.
And that's you there, correct?
My picture is there. I was the crew chief, and the officer in charge is also in that picture. That is a picture of a seminar that we have for first sergeants and administrative people. My picture is,
Right there?
yeah,
Okay.
right there on the,
Bottom right-hand corner.
yeah, that is a picture of when I was a first sergeant. You can see the diamond on my grade there. The diamond indicates that you are a first sergeant. That was a picture of me while with the 5688 Training Administrative Squadron. We train pilots going to Vietnam. This is my Air Force Commendation Medal received at NORAD for the job I did saving Navy pilot and ship while I was in Iceland. The ship was a Peter II Victor that was shot down by Russian Bear. This picture is my commanding officer. His name is Colonel Cap, a good friend. This is one of the pictures when I was with the Department of Correction. If you notice, I was a captain there. That's our first resident here in Colorado Springs. We lived there for 43 years. Picture of my first family when I was first married to when I was first married, and I can tell him I have my wife then was Mary Jane Baker, my son David, then Anthony and Deborah and Penny and Paulina. That was my son Tony. Well, he was in the Army. He was an Army recruiter. And that picture is showing that he was a sergeant in the Army. That was a picture of my second wife, Norene De Torres, and me, taken at approximately 30 years, or 25 years after we were married. We were married.
And so how many years have you been married to date?
We are married now to date over 53 years. That's my daughter, my two daughters, and my wife, my second wife. Barbara
B. and
Barbara
Dolores.
De Torres and Dee De Torres. That is my two daughters. The one on the left is Dolores Eileen De Torres, and the one on the right is Barbara Robinson, Barbara De Torres Robinson, and I am in the middle there. This is a picture of my three daughters. The one on the left is Dolores, the one in the middle, Mona Lee, and the one on the right is Barbie. That's a picture of my daughter, Deborah, and myself during her graduation for her master's degree at Weber State University.
In the First World War, a picture of him.
And this one here then.
And he was a surgeon then, and so honor, a roll of honor for all of those people who were in the First World War.
Wow.
This is a picture of my father, Ray Levitt, shaking hands with a French soldier in France.
My name is Manuel De Torres, and I would like to mention a first in the De Torres family. My father spent 30 years in the United States Navy, and he's one of the original Navy divers, which is today the Navy SEAL.
Wow.
And I thought that is important.
Very important. Thank you.